Often, life seems unfair, and this has become the recurring theme in Femicia's life. Because in her world, people receive magical blessings at the age of 5. The blessings are ranked by the number of stars, with 5 stars being the highest and most coveted in her society. She was blessed with the ability to tame monsters, only with 0 stars, a ranking completely and utterly worthless, as she couldn't even tame small and docile animals. Acceptance in the village where she grew up turned into rejection. The love she received from her parents turned into hatred. She was forced to flee her hometown while being pursued by bounty hunters hired by her village. She changes her name to Ivy to assume a new identity. She cuts her hair to pass as a boy, to evade the hunters. She didn't give up on life, because there's something special about her. She was reincarnated from our world into the girl she is now. And the voice of her past life gives her advice on how to live and who to be. Everything changes when she forms a bond with Sora, a small and fragile jelly-like creature found in the forest. From now on, this delicate duo embarks on an exciting journey of survival, revealing that Ivy is more than simply the absence of a star. We see Femicia, a small girl with green hair, running into a forest searching for something. She hangs pots and pans in the trees to serve as a signal when someone passes nearby. In a hiding spot, she pulls out some special bags from a secret area that only she knows. She looks on in awe as things are sucked into one of the bags like a pocket dimension. She fastens all the bags onto herself, adding various other items. As she leaves with all her goods, she tells herself she gave up on happiness long ago, being an unwanted child rejected by her village and her family. Later, she retrieves a sword from her belongings and begins training, only to stumble and roll backward. If only she had important skills like running or hiding. But if she did, of course, none of this would have happened to her in the first place. She seems to converse with someone invisible, who tells her she was born this way, so she has to accept it. She wonders if she did something in her past life to be cursed so severely in this one. She slides down a hill, glad to find a dumping ground with various things she can reuse. She pulls a handle from the trash bag and nearly gets skewered by several discarded spears. Inside the bag, she's delighted to find a new coat and a map that might make her journey easier. But even with the positive outlook, she has intrusive thoughts to remind her that she's just an unwanted child living off unwanted trash like a discarded person. Ivy then hears someone approaching, a man who is a monster tamer. He whistles to call his slimes to feed on the trash. And as she watches them dissolve the garbage, she talks again with someone invisible, wondering why her past self found these monsters cute. Ivy flees to hide when the man approaches the back of the trash bin. She looks completely frightened as the man mentions there's a reward for this little girl's head, where the chief of her village wants her back dead or alive. She flees farther, having restless nights. And as she crosses a swamp, a strong gust blows and she finds dozens of mini slimes hopping around her. She definitely doesn't think they're cute at all. She flees with them chasing her. She reaches the forest and takes steps back with more slimes appearing before her. Falling off a cliff, her fall cushioned by the branches of a large tree, she heals herself with some potions. The chase seems to be over, so she continues her walk and finds a stream, glad to finally be able to take a good bath, as she always lived hidden. Later, she gathers the courage to cut her long hair. She pulls out various clothes from her special bag to disguise herself as a boy, throwing off those who are searching for her. Femicia was a name given by her father, but she decides to change it by asking the invisible being. The being gives her the name Ivy, the name of a strong plant that survives even when stepped on. She finds a small slime that is different from the others, being really cute. A rare slime, known as the weakest according to Ivy's compendium. She can't help but rejoice because it ends up reminding her of herself. Finally, someone she can relate to. A slight breeze blows, dragging the small, weak slime away. And looking at the compendium again, Ivy discovers that this slime can disappear even with a stronger breeze or even with the lightest touch. As she watches it stuck, for being placed upside down, Ivy gently puts the slime back upright using both hands, and learns from the book that this slime will probably die in a single day. Because of this, they are not very studied, so little is known about them. Another breeze blows, the slime is carried away by a blade of grass. Ivy runs after it and narrowly manages to save the slime before it falls into the water. Ivy then spends her time with the slime, protecting it from the wind and keeping it company until its inevitable disintegration. At night, she talks to it, mentioning her thoughts on how the gods don't play fair. They create happy people, but also miserable people like her and this slime. The humans in this world known as Ortegas all receive abilities when they turn 5 years old. Her father has 2-star carpentry skills. Her mother has 2-star embroidery skills and 1-star repair skills. However, no one knows what kind of abilities they will receive or how many stars they will have in value until they appear. But everyone's future is decided by these abilities and the number of stars. At 5 years old, Ivy received the taming ability, which is the ability to tame monsters and conquer them. But unfortunately, she was born without stars. A tamer who can't tame a single monster. Useless and excluded by society and even by her own family. They stopped giving her food and a home to live in. She found herself slowly without a place to belong. However, she has one thing that others don't. Memories. Memories of a past life. Apparently, she is a human being who has been reincarnated here from a different world. But most of the memories come hazy and tend not to be of much use either. The invisible being says that sometimes it whispers useful things indeed. The invisible being somehow is her version of a past life. She also remembers another person who was very kind, the seer. She gave Ivy books that taught many different things, and even that magical bag that can store many items. But unfortunately, the seer recently died, so there's no one else in this world for Ivy. And as if that weren't enough, everyone in the village is trying to find her and kill her. What a terrible fate for this little girl, all because she was born without stars. Is it really something so hateful? Is the world rejecting Ivy's very existence? Then she looks at the slime, commenting on how it's destined to disappear in a single day. The world just doesn't seem fair. The next morning, she wakes up and the little slime is gone, saddened by the only thing she could relate to. Even though she thought she was used to being alone, she couldn't help but feel emotional. She begins to rummage through her bags, remembering how the seer told her to march toward the royal capital. Then, when she checks her map, she sees that the slime was hidden there and is relieved to see that he is alive, seeing that the recorded time of his life was a lie. She learns from her compendium that to tame a monster, she must first give it some of her magical energy. If the monster accepts, it will begin to glow. And the monster must then be given a name during this phase. She wonders if she can really do this being without stars. She has to at least try. She touches the slime and indeed it begins to glow. She wonders if it really worked. She then quickly tries to think of a name. She looks at the sparkling sky and decides to call him Sora. The slime gains a mark on his forehead. The magic worked. With the naming being a success, she is excited to travel with her new cute little friend. Embracing her own name of Ivy, the plant that thrives even when stepped on. A rat wanders onto a small device. She looks at how big the rat is and how juicy it looks. It's the 10th one Ivy has caught. She's very happy to have field rats for tonight's meal. She wraps the rats in some leaves and stores them in her bag for later. She points on her map where she currently is, the area of her hometown, Latamy Village, and notes that the royal capital is much further to the left beyond the map. So she wants to stop in the town of Ottawa before the map runs out. She has to grab Sora again before the breeze takes him away. He has grown quite a bit since the last time. A sinister noise echoes from the forest towards Ivy. She startles at some noise and decides to climb a tree to hide. She is horrified to see a large swarm of giant ants, but they don't even notice her. After they leave, she holds Sora, wondering if he looks a bit bigger. And after noticing she has a cut on her cheek, she heals herself with some blue potions. But she can't help but think she should have more potions and wonders where the others are. Sora just shakes. As she wanders, she sees a wanted poster with her face on it. She notices that the reward is 500 dal, which is a big reward from where they are. She wonders why she could be worth so much. Then her past self whispers that it's because she's a wanted fugitive, which doesn't make Ivy any happier, as it makes her seem like a villain. She goes to pull a second wanted poster, but is perplexed to see the ugly representation of herself. And that makes her quite angry, so she tears it up. However, upon seeing her embellished poster, she comments, "Yes, this is probably me." But somehow it seems that Sora disagrees. They finally arrive at the next town, with Ivy feeling a bit envious of all the town's residents and their everyday magics. She sees a butcher shop and thinks of selling her field rats for some money. This anime really feels like an RPG. She gets nervous and decides to step back, but the butcher approaches because he can smell the rats due to his own level 2 odor ability. He asks Ivy to show him the rats and gets excited over the fresh cuts of meat. He buys them for 100 dal, explaining that most people are bringing him larger prey these days, so he'd be happy to buy Ivy's smaller meats anytime. With her pockets full of money, Ivy feels a bit hungry looking at the bakery. But she's too nervous, so she steps back at first. But she comes back, with the shop owner asking what she would like to buy. Ivy asks what she can buy with 100 dal, as she has never used money before. Then the owner explains that Ivy could buy the whole bread shelf. Ivy then decides to buy some things, and leaves happy with the delicious treats. That night, she sits on top of a tree, very eager to eat. Then she splits half for Sora. As she enjoys, she learns that Sora can't eat bread, but she can't understand what he might like to eat. The next day, she is delighted to find a pile of garbage again. She comes across baskets of potions, but they are all practically expired. Sora is happy and shakes every time Ivy finds a blue potion. When she puts them on the ground, Sora finds a use absorbing the entire potion bottles. This surprises Ivy because absorbing inorganic material like glass is usually a high-level skill. She tries to test this with another piece of garbage and other potions, but it seems that Sora is only interested in blue potion bottles. They continue their days in the village, with Ivy bringing more rat meat to the butcher to earn more money and buy more bread and other treats. It doesn't seem like such a bad life, as long as the butcher keeps buying rats. In the middle of the day, she bathes in a stream, inviting Sora, but maybe the water would take him away. While they eat their daily meals, Ivy wishes she could stay in the village forever. The people here treat her well, unlike the memories of her father who discarded her as trash that she has grown fond of. The next day, she goes to the village, and when she sees some adventurers, she thinks of the man who is hunting her for a reward and flees. She runs past the butcher, who is eager to buy more rats. But Ivy is frightened to see her wanted poster at the shop stand. So she runs to the bakery, where the baker has baked her favorite bread and wants to give it to her for free. However, Ivy runs away again, feeling worse after seeing a second poster. She cries in sadness, because she knows she needs to leave the village that has treated her so well. And she hugs Sora, who keeps her company as she sleeps. The next day, as she ventures, she comes to a crossroads, not knowing where to go. She decides to go eat something, as she was afraid to get supplies in the city. She finds a golden apple tree with delight, but she isn't so happy to see that it's a monster that feeds on adventurers. Ivy tries to flee, but narrowly escapes a violent attack on her wrist. Her vision blurs and her strength leaves her. She falls and will die if she doesn't do something. She has no more potions. Then Sora starts to glow, and Ivy can't help but think, that's right, slimes also eat people. Going back in time, we see a man with green hair carving wood. He hears a baby cry, then rushes home. His daughter is born, strong and healthy. His wife, Fuffy, asks what her name will be, and he replies that she will be called Famicia. Her mother is pleased with her daughter and embraces her with love. A few years later, Famicia would grow up to become a kind and wonderful girl, bringing lunch to her father and older brother while they worked hard for their family. While the three of them enjoyed their tasty bread lunch, Famicia almost choked from eating too fast. Then her father used his magic to fill her glass with water so she could clear her throat properly. And even though her brother scolded her, Famicia would continue to eat uncontrollably, stating that it's because she's growing, which made her father laugh. Her family's days were ordinary, but they brought great happiness to Famicia, even doing the simplest things like helping with lunch. Perhaps we should learn a little from Famicia. That night, Famicia would come home to her mother and older sister, Facilia, preparing dinner. Her brother, Phaeton, teased her, saying she better start using everyday magic soon. So Famecia retorted that she will definitely be able to soon, with her mother gently reminding her that everyone develops at their own pace. And even without magic, Famecia is already admirably helping as much as she can. However, Facilia comments that that wasn't what their mother told her when she was 4 years old. She was being told by their mother every day to hurry up and be able to use magic already, with the mother responding, "Huh. Is that so? Parents, right? Dinner is ready for the family to enjoy." A large stew was the main dish. The father proudly explains that, as Facilia has the healing ability, the food is enhanced with the ability to cure fatigue. Then the family enjoys their peaceful dinner together. The family continues to work on things into the night. The father mentions that the house he was building should be completed by the end of the month, but he couldn't complete it without his lovely family who is truly blessed in this world. His son Phaeton made the furniture, with his 3-star carpentry skills, and the mother helped make the upholstery with her 2-star sewing skills. Their family was truly blessed with talent for the home decorating business. As the mother worked, a tear came to her eyes, which startled Famecia. It turns out the mother was sewing wedding dresses for the shoemaker's daughter, and this made her realize that Famecia and her older sister Facilia will also get married one day. Facilia is eager to have a beautiful dress, with the father saying it's too early. But no, the mother knows that time always passes faster than expected. After all, Famecia is almost turning 5 years old, which leaves Famecia excited for birthday presents. However, there's something even more important when she turns 5, her ability. The father notes that as long as a person has an ability, they will always find a place to work. The mother adds, "What kind of ability and how many stars? No one knows until they receive their ability from God. The type of ability and the number of stars will determine where you will work, where someone like the older brother, who has a 3-star ability, is highly desired. Unlike Facilia, who has only 1 star, which he constantly teases her about." The mother then asks Famecia what ability she would like to have. From a very young age, Famecia has always wanted to be a tamer, to make friends with dragons, griffins, and all kinds of monsters, making her brother laugh because he found her reasoning ridiculous. The father reminded Famecia that abilities are granted by God so that his people can live in this world, not just to make friends, making Famecia pout. However, he handed her a horse made with his 2-star carpentry skills to cheer her up. The family hears a knock on the door. Who could it be at this hour? It turns out to be Mrs. Luba, the seer. She showed up because Famecia's day of being graced with her ability is approaching, so she came to offer a prayer of good luck. The seer then thinks back to when Famecia was much younger. The mother was worried because Famecia started speaking incredibly well from the age of 2. Only that sometimes, Famecia said strange things. The mother couldn't help but feel concerned, asking if her daughter would be able to use magic someday. Famecia then suddenly exclaimed, "Magic? This world has magic," something that Luba affirms to young Famecia. Famecia jumps for joy. Then she says, "What? Reincarnated into another world?" Which leaves the mother worried about the strange words her daughter had just uttered, as well as other times. Luba then reassures the mother, saying it's okay. Famecia will grow up to be a very smart child. Luba then arranges an excuse for the mother to step away for a second. She understood that Famecia has memories of her past life. She tells Famecia that if people find out that she has memories of her past life, things will become difficult for her. So she shouldn't tell anyone about it, not even her mother. Back in the present, Luba tells the family that Famecia will certainly be graced with a wonderful ability. Facilia wonders if the ability tells Luba what ability Famecia will receive. However, with Luba's prediction ability being only 1 star, she can't see that far ahead. Phaeton then mocks Luba's single star, causing the father to reprimand his spoiled son. After all, without her predictions, the village wouldn't know when they could harvest the 0 fruits. Luba leaves with a worried look on her face. Something is about to happen. We finally arrive at Famecia's 5th birthday. Her parents sit with her, while the village priest tells them that today is the day to receive God's blessings. Blessings that will grant her the joy of hard work, the happiness in the wonder of life, and the divine protection of truth. Femisha approaches to touch the sacred water. Then the priest uses his magic to receive the divine message. Femisha is blessed with the ability to tame, the ability to conquer monsters, which left both her and her parents excited. This was going exactly as Femisha wished. However, this dream would turn into a nightmare. When the priest gives a very disturbed look at the reading, the water bursts before them, meaning that this child possesses a tamer ability without a star. Her father shouted, "This must be some kind of mistake. My daughter couldn't be without stars." But the priest assured them, this is a divine message. Mistakes simply are not possible. And that any further conversation like, "This is blasphemy," as the priest walked away, muttering under his breath that this girl had been abandoned by God. Femisha hears a whisper from her past life, saying that this is an impossibly difficult video game. Back home, the family is completely depressed and disheveled. The father pounds the table, having drunk and complaining incessantly. "How can I have a daughter without stars?" he exclaims. The mother tries to calm him down, but he doesn't listen. He's consumed by groundless hatred. Both he and his wife have stars. His older son and daughter have stars. So why does only Femisha not? Femisha tries to ask him something, but he shouts back at her, telling her not to speak because the starless ones were abandoned by God. He really questioned how a starless could be born into his family. This made Femisha look incredulously, with the man before her no longer having the love and warmth she had always known. It was as if there was a completely different person there. Fulf tells him he's going too far as he quickly rises. He grabs the wooden horse he gave to Femisha and throws it to the ground, shouting what's the point of being a tamer if she has no stars. He wonders if Femisha is really his daughter. And with these harsh words, Fulf collapses to the ground in tears. Femisha tries to console her mother, but Phaeton grabs her, shouting not to touch his mother. Femisha tries to seek help from her older sister, but Faecilla just gives her a displeased look. With Femisha screaming that her brother is hurting her, asking him to stop, he throws her to the ground and shouts for her to leave. She looks back, completely lost in everything that happened, but then she runs out of the house. Femisha then walks through the village, like a lifeless zombie, while the villagers whisper about the starless child abandoned by God. The village leader announces the appearance of a starless as a terrible omen of disaster. He tells the villagers that they must prepare against misfortunes and dedicate their skills for the good of the village. While Femisha watches them, other children from the village throw stones at her, making her bleed. She runs, only to be met with more villagers casting hateful glares at her. She runs all night through a forest to escape them, wondering why this was happening, until she stumbles. She can't go back home anymore. Her past life whispers that there will be a witch hunt, which makes Femisha clench her fists as it rains, and she tells herself she's not a witch. As she wanders in the rain feeling depressed and cold, she also realizes she's getting hungry. She finds some fruits and eats what she can. Then she finds shelter from the rain, but still shivers cold and soaked. She breaks a branch and tries to use magic for the first time to make a fire, but it goes out. As she tries to light it a second time, she suddenly faints. She wakes up with the fortune teller who helped her warm up with the fire and prepared food to eat. Luba tells Femisha that it seems she has less magical energy than most people, and that if she runs out of magical energy, it will put her life at risk. She then tells Femisha that her foresight ability showed that this would happen to her, but not the way it would happen. Luba never imagined that Femisha would be starless. While handing food for her to enjoy, after dinner, she hands Femisha a magic bag, and even though it's an old model, it will still be able to fit many things. And also books with knowledge about various useful things. Luba then says that Femisha is destined to journey to see the world and broaden her perspective, that she should go to a neighboring city to the royal capital, and find people she can trust. And when she does, she must tell them everything, that she's a starless, so she can find true friends who would accept her, no matter what. While Femisha learns various skills with Luba, she asks why Luba doesn't hate her like the rest of the village. Luba explains that long ago, nobody had skills or stars, but they still worked and lived happily. So, not having skills isn't a bad thing. even though she doesn't know how things ended up like this. 3 years later, we find Famicia in front of a huge pile of garbage. She wonders if the boards are leftovers from the manufacturing of furniture by her older brother, Phaeton, saving some to use as firewood later. Then she looks at some potions, which are used, but still enough to be saved for later. She got a large amount today. She catches a rat and then enjoys a skewer of it. She thinks it's been a while since she last saw the fortune teller and wonders what she's doing. Then she feels the presence of people coming and puts out the fire and hides to see 2 men from the village. She has a bad feeling and wants to know why people are after her, so she decides to spy on them in the city. When she goes to investigate hidden in the church, she ends up overhearing people saying that Luba died from a strong flu. Her father appears there, talking to the village leader that Famicia is not in the forest hideout. The chief tells Famicia's father that the starless only bring bad luck, and her father agrees, saying that the starless should not be allowed to exist in this world, which completely broke Famicia, leaving her without any support. Hearing those words from the same man who used to love her, throwing her into total despair. She even imagines her mother saying it would have been better if she had never been born. This goes beyond absurdity. A fanaticism completely dominated the minds of these people and made Famicia's heart shattered glass shards. The village chief speaks of the sad loss of the village fortune teller, saying that the cause of her death was nothing less than the curse of the starless. And because Luba ignored their warnings and took care of Famicia, she too became abandoned by the gods. They cannot afford to leave Famicia unattended, as their village will one day be struck by calamity. And then he orders everyone to capture and kill her. Famicia shrinks in fear of the severe bounty being placed on her life. She fled as the villagers chased her, with her mother holding her back, while her father dealt the final blow to her head. Such a cruel and barbaric fate imposed on a child. She finally wakes up under the stars, remembering that Sora was going to eat her. She then looks back at the sky and peacefully accepts her fate, because she is an unwanted child anyway. Then she finds herself awakened by Sora nudging her. He jumps on her, and it's then that Famicia realizes her wound is completely healed. She thanks him, as she finds out he wasn't trying to eat her. He was actually just healing her. After all, he has the properties of the blue potions. And it's then that he starts to talk. So Famicia rejoices and laughs at her little slime that can only say poo. She may be an unwanted child, but none of that matters, as long as she has him. So maybe she decides to live just a little longer. Hi, it's me, Yuki. Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed the video. Please comment if you want part 2. This is a new channel, and I'll be bringing a lot of romance and similar genre content. So if you enjoy this theme, consider subscribing, okay? I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Until next time.